Undulation.
All right, we're live.
This thing on?
Is it?
Did I break it?
There we
Hello?
go. Any camera fixes needed? Nope. We are good to go.
Told you not to look at me.
Let me get my little sheet here.
There we go.
All right, ready? What's up, Atlanta? This is the Mouths of the South podcast brought to you by Dirty South Soccer in the palatial 680 The Fan Studios. Reminder, we have a radio show now.
Hello.
Every Wednesday, 7 p.m., 12:30 a.m., 106.3 FM. You can find us on Twitter, MOTS Podcast.
Oh, wait, I already missed the radio show?
Already missed the radio show. Next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. I am Eric Quintana, Josh Bagriansky in front of me. To my left, Mr. Sam Franco. Gentlemen, it takes a big man, a big man to admit his mistake.
Does it take an even bigger man to eat poop?
Today, I'm here to tell you that I am that big man. I was wrong.
Good for you, Eric.
I was wrong.
Well, first of all, before we even get into your punishment, I want you to go ahead and apologize to the listeners.
No, I'm not apologizing.
And I think
What's there to apologize for?
You're a trusted Atlanta United pundit, and I think people want some information as to why you led all of us astray.
This was
about
opinionate.
Tata.
This is opinion. This was I had no sources.
Eric said Tata Martino
First of all,
not leaving, by the way, just so it's.
I was 99% sure that he was staying, based on everything he had told me, based off the facts surrounding the Mexico job or any national team job other than like the U.S.
Right. Well,
based off that, I assumed he wasn't going to go anywhere.
Well,
he liked the city. He liked the being able to coach in peace.
He may have been 99% sure, but now he's got 99 problems, and poop is one.
Poop might be one, indeed.
I
would say, Eric,
never agreed to eat the poop.
The main lesson you need to take from this is you can't just throw percentages around like that. When you say 99%,
if I had said like 90%, it would have been
when
fine.
Eric Quintana says 99% Tata is staying, Atlanta United Nation says Tata Martino is staying, and then just like that, he's gone.
I was wrong, but I want to say that none of that was based on any kind of facts.
Of course.
Those are all the opinions and observations around press conferences and quotes from Tata Martino himself.
We're just having a bit of a laugh here, mate.
Yeah, having a laugh.
Having a laugh.
Yeah, you're going to have to do something.
But yes,
Eric, it will not involve fecal matter.
Eric been a very good sport about this.
Although I have heard that if you eat your own, it's okay.
If you eat your own.
I don't think that makes it any better.
Anyway, so maybe we can convince him. But anyways, Sam, when you were getting dinner between the radio show and the podcast, yes. Eric told me he will do anything other than eat poop. So I know we got people big onto the eat poop bandwagon, but anything but that. So
should we go like Fear Factor here?
I mean, he said anything. Would
you lie in like a coffin of cockroaches for like 5 minutes?
I mean, I could do that.
I mean, I'd give credit to anyone that can pull off a coffin of cockroaches. You got to show respect to that person.
Well, you know,
I got to be able to. I'm not saying that I lift it up. I just for my own sanity. Just.
Well, I didn't even mean like one that had a top.
Oh,
I just meant like because like on Fear Factor when they'd have to like lay in like the bin of snakes or whatever, it'd just be this big like glass box.
Amen.
That didn't have a top.
We can get him. So Eric's being a good sport about this. He's willing to do something, and we want. Sam and I have had some ideas. The poop one obviously went down the drain. No pun intended.
I mean, look. In all honesty,
how perfect was that?
Okay, what brought that up though was that Cleveland sports host who said like the Browns would not take Baker Mayfield number 1 overall, and that he would eat poop. If that dude actually ate poop.
That's where this is coming from. So we've got to have Eric's own version of eating poop, and we want the listeners to get involved, give us some ideas. They tweeted a bunch at us at MOTS Podcast. Keep them going because
can you read a few? Because I want to.
What Sam and I are thinking we want to be twofold. We want to make Eric do something in public first of all. So bed of cockroaches sounds great, but we got a great one from our listener Keith who wants Eric to do what's called a dunkaroo. Which
I never heard of this.
I was not familiar with this, but basically he says, what that means is to have a friend or two hold up your legs while you submerge your entire head in a cooler of ice water for at least 3 seconds. Then come back up, stand up, and have a friend hand you a full beer that you chug as fast as possible. This tradition is best exercised at tailgates before sports events. So
that's got to be like a brain freeze.
I was gonna say, what does that do for you? What is the
3 seconds for you? What does it do for us?
3 seconds doesn't seem like that long though.
No, it's long enough.
We don't want to kill him.
That's long enough.
No. I mean, how long can you hold your breath underwater?
Anyways,
I'm just saying.
I thought that
used to
was
be
a
a
good one
swimmer.
from Keith, but we're looking for public humiliations of Eric. So we're going to decide where to do it. We might maybe get together and do something for the first leg of the playoffs, do a recording. Eric said he's not going to be there on November 11th for the next home match.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it might be something we have to push back, but we definitely want a public humiliation of Eric. So that's number one in the clubhouse now is this kind of beer chugging related activity.
Could we do it like
just to up the ante? If we get up to like say 200 subscribers on YouTube, for those of you listening,
oh man,
I'll literally do just about anything but eat poop.
Wow.
99%.
200 subscribers on YouTube.
All right. Okay.
These are
we gotta get to that number.
These are strong
That's
words.
good stuff. So then we have the other side of this, right? So I think we also want to do something on the podcast as well for maybe people that won't run into Eric doing this public humiliation. We'll have him do, and a lot of it seems to surround him wearing an Orlando City jersey.
Yeah, people really want to see you wearing something Orlando.
Oh, first of all, I like this.
I mean, we could definitely do that next week on the
this
podcast.
tweet from
for
Ernest,
sure.
who is defending Eric. Eric is not the sharpest knife. Stop picking on him. So I thought, all right, Ernest, we apologize. And Eric, I hope you don't take offense to him saying, what do you know?
Get spell check, Ernest.
Right?
That's all I'm gonna
That's
say.
true. And then he goes on to say, called Tata Terra. So, I mean,
I'm not sure who Tara is. All right.
That could be,
well, we got a few more. Okay,
All right,
so
read 'em.
At probably says do a profile on a leader of the Orlando Ultras.
That's a scary proposition.
We got 2 or 3 people that say wear an Orlando kit on air. One says a Will Johnson kit, which I'm not going to make you do that. That's 10 times worse than eating poop, Eric. I would never do that to you. We're friends.
Look, if it were for my job, I would have had no problem doing the Will Johnson haircut, like cutting his face into my hair.
Sure.
I would have totally done that.
Speaking of haircuts, I love Josh Bailey's idea. He's been all over this for forever. At JBailey86 says, I'm going to resubmit my idea for a Sasha Kleshton mustache, which would just be brilliant, Eric.
Again, because of my job, I can't do that. But another thing that I would absolutely have done had it not been for my job.
Convenient excuse. And we've also got to wear a Brazil jersey.
I'm not
Is
sure
that
what
because of your Uruguayan roots? That would be an Argentinian jersey.
Yeah.
It would be the rivalry there. And
Yeah,
then we've got wear a Mexico jersey. So we've got kind of this. What do we do on the podcast? We have him wear something. I like the Orlando City stuff.
I mean, Eric already said on the radio show that he's going to be cheering for Tata and then hoping he does well in Mexico anyway. So I'm sure he'd be okay.
I'm cheering for Tata, the individual.
Eric's going to get a Mexico jersey.
I hope that he
Tata
finds
Martino's name on the back.
I hope that he finds a ton of success, and we'll get into this later. But I hope that he himself finds a ton of success. Right. I'm not specifically rooting for Mexico.
Yeah, but that means Mexico has to do well. So you're rooting for Mexico, dude.
Sadly, we do have to get into that kind of sad Tatacalypse now.
Well, hold on. I got one more.
One more for Eric.
One more thing. Whatever we decide, we should do this some sort of like playoff away leg. We need to figure out something where we're doing something somewhere. And that way people can come and watch it.
Exactly. No, we need a public humiliation. And
ooh, how much is a dunk tank? That would be.
We're not spending Patreon money on a dunk tank.
If you want to get a dunk tank, I mean, if you want to go
I'll do the dunk
and
tank.
do some crazy creative thing.
I'm not talking about like water though. I'm talking about like filling the dunk tank full of like, I don't know, hunch punch or something.
I mean, even water is fine. If you're going to get that creative, Eric will do it. If you're going to provide a dunk tank, Eric is going to be done.
You bring me the punishments, I will do it.
Absolutely.
Just do not bring me a plate of.
He's a good sport.
Do not bring me the Orlando shirt. Bring me the Orlando jersey. Just know that you're not getting it back, and it will evaporate or burn up into the atmosphere at some point.
Just order one off like ChinaJerseys.it.
I don't care what kind it is. If it's got that Orlando logo on it, just know you're not getting it back. Just know. All right. So, yeah, we got to dive into, obviously, the most massive news of the week. Tata Martino deciding not to extend his contract with Atlanta United. There's kind of been some people talking about him resigning or him, it's nothing like that. His contract ends at the end of the season. He's not renewing his contract. Of course, the rumors are that he's going to Mexico. That is TBD, to be determined. We'll see how that pans out for him.
Are you 99% sure he's going to Mexico?
Like at this point, I don't know. I can't really. I'm of no authority to say that I'm 99% sure of anything. Sky's blue. I couldn't tell you for sure.
Wow, Eric is questioning everything now.
Isn't technically the sky not blue though?
Oh my.
Okay, let's not. All right, so obviously we all heard the news. Let's get the initial reactions first. Josh, you hear the news, you wake up, you hear the news, or you see the news. What goes through? What crosses your mind?
The way I actually saw the news, the way that I saw the news was looking into the Dirty South Soccer Slack chat that morning and seeing Sam. The first thing I see is Sam saying Eric has to eat poop.
I think I said it in all caps because I'm sitting there like doing my radio show over in Athens, and I see the news kind of come across the wire, and it was like right at the end of my show, and right when we were done, the first thing that popped in my head was, "Oh man, Eric's got to eat poop."
Right. So I think I was maybe the only person who learned of the news and actually smiled a little bit because I simultaneously learned of Eric's punishment. But honestly, I mean, just really sad because I think, and we're going to get more into the specifics of what Tata's done for the city and MLS and all those things, but the brand of football that he brought to Atlanta, and the reason Atlanta United is popular right now is not just because they're winning, it's because they're such an attractive, fun, fast tempo style to play that Tata Martino has been about his whole career. So that's the main thing I think I'll miss, and that made me sad was that this kind of pulsating brand of football that he's brought us, it still could be a very attractive brand under the next manager, but it's not going to be like this.
Certain. There's no certainty.
Exactly. And there was a special uniqueness, a genuineness to Tata Martino that I don't think you get with a lot of managers or players in the modern game. And I'll definitely miss all of those things about him. So heartbroken to see him go, although I understand his decision.
And I will say this because I seem to be.
Oh no! Where were you? What did you have to react and all that good stuff? Do that first.
So you're on air, you said?
Yeah, I was doing my morning show on 960 Rep in Athens, and I just see that the tweet from Atlanta United, and we were talking about this on the radio show. How it kind of, I mean, obviously we had been suspecting, and there were rumors and things like that. For them to just kind of drop it at like it was like 9:30 or 9:45, something. It was somewhere in that time period. And for them to just kind of drop it like that was kind of weird. And again, I don't know what the future of Atlanta United holds, and I don't know how long term this is going to affect Atlanta United. But I just remember the first thing that kind of came into my head is thinking, man, like this is really the first big negative story or like big bummer that we've really seen affiliated with Atlanta United. Other than them getting bounced out of the playoffs last year. I mean, this is the first time where you're, as an Atlanta United fan, you're kind of like, oh, dang, that sucks. you know? But then again, it's like, yeah, you can feel sad, but I'm here to tell you that I think it's okay for you to be mad too.
I saw it at work, and I immediately went to like a bit of a depression because I knew I was going to get ridiculed a bit. And I didn't really I don't want to see Tata Martino go. I really don't. I like consistency in my sports teams. I like cohesion. I like continuity. I like everything to kind of continue in the same pattern that it's been in the past. So obviously with a major shift like this, losing a player is one thing, but losing your coach, your head coach, is a totally different story. And he's the first. You're never gonna forget your first. He's the first manager. He's the one that helped build this club. He's the one that helped put Atlanta soccer back on the map. If you think that it was there, it was there at some point. To every Atlanta United fan, he's gonna have a massive impact. Like, don't kid yourself. Even if you don't like the fact that he's leaving, you're still going to keep tabs on what he's doing wherever he goes, because he's got that kind of influence on your life at this point, because you're such you're such an Atlanta United fan at this point that the team is part of your life now. And so Tata was a family figure in a sense. Maybe I'm kind of romanticizing the whole thing a little bit, but I mean, you get the point. He had a major impact on soccer in Atlanta, and that's now leaving, and so it's going to hurt a little bit.
And I don't think you're really romanticizing at all, because I think you can look at the development, particularly of some of the younger players, some of who weren't maybe in such a great place when they came to Atlanta.
That's who I feel bad. Well, not bad for. That's who I kind of sympathize for most, is the players that like Michael Parkhurst and Jeff Larentowicz, Julian Gressel, who all have grown massively under him.
I mean, even Joseph Martinez.
Yeah,
I mean, you go down the line of players on this roster, and the vast majority of them, whether it's older guys like Larentowicz or Parkhurst, younger guys like Martinez, or even Ezequiel Barco, maybe we'll take Barco out of that, but most of the guys have begun to play the best of their career. I mean, you can make an argument this is the best 2-year run Michael Parkhurst has had. You could have the same for Laurentowicz. These are guys in their mid to late 30s. But then you can look at a Joseph Martinez, who came over, I believe, at 23 and had struggled in Europe, and he has a revitalization in Atlanta. You look at a Miguel Almiron, who comes to Atlanta to develop a little further and be that next step to get him to Europe. It happens. So you go down the list, and regardless of age, position, whatever, most of the players on the Atlanta United roster, not most, but a vast majority, particularly the key cogs, Tito Villalba, another, playing the best they've played in their entire career under Tata Martino. So I don't think you are romanticizing Eric. I think Tata Martino is that influential kind of father figure to the city, but also to these players. And the proof is in the pudding when you just look at how they've performed under him.
To the soccer community in Atlanta, he is kind of like the Don. He is kind of that massive figure that kind of oversees.
So
it.
then you guys are sitting here romanticizing and getting kind of like overly emotional about it, but it's not like okay to be mad or it's wrong or it's not the right attitude to have to be mad that he's leaving. It's just a different emotion.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well,
explain your point.
My thing is, I don't think mad is the right, but we'll go ahead and explain it first.
No, it's just, okay, so this coach comes in and does all this stuff, and it's great. He's been great, but now he is, and obviously this is allegedly, but now he's going to leave you for Mexico. Again, and I explained this on the radio show, this is a very weird spot for Atlanta United because their former manager is now going to coach the maybe is not the wrong word. Most likely going to coach Mexico, and your fans, if you're Atlanta United, mostly are United States national team fans. So that's a weird thing to have to deal with there. But as an Atlanta United fan, and honestly, I'm talking to people that are both Atlanta United fans and U.S. men's national team fans, why on earth should you be happy about this?
Well, I don't think happy, but I think you have to.
Okay, so you're not mad either?
I mean, I think as a fan, of course you're disappointed. But if Miguel Almiron leaves in January, you're going to be disappointed. But you're not going to be mad at him for taking what he sees as the logical next step in his career.
See, that's a little bit different, though, because Almiron was being linked abroad before he came to Atlanta United. So the prospects for him in Europe were probably, already there, and it was probably going to happen, although by coming to Atlanta United first and developing under Tata Martino, he has done himself a huge service. But
absolutely.
But what I'm saying with Tata Martino is it's different because who was knocking on Tata Martino's door before he reached out to Atlanta United and was like, hey, I wouldn't mind a crack at that job? Well, was he super in demand?
I mean, someone was eventually going to come knocking.
So your issue, aside from the obvious fact that we're all disappointed he's leaving, is that you feel he used Atlanta United to kind of reestablish himself as a big manager on the world stage.
I don't think there was ever any intent, and they admitted this, that there was never any intent for him to stay long term. But at the same time, like if you join a national, when you join a national team, you're in it for a cycle usually. So I would assume if he takes a Mexico national team job, he's going to be there through 2020.
And it's a reported 4-year contract as well. Reported that they're trying to offer him a 4-year.
And again, that's the World Cup. I get it, all that stuff. But as an Atlanta United fan, especially because he's leaving for Mexico and your feelings about Mexico as a U.S. fan, it's hard to swallow. And it just feels like, and this is very much fandom talking, but it feels like he's abandoning you to go take on. I know they're not a direct rival of Atlanta United, but soccer is different like that because you have your club team and you have your international team. So it just feels like he's abandoning you for Mexico.
It might feel like that, but I just hope that if you go and look at Tata Martino's career, that this is the first 2 seasons he's even worked in the U.S. Why should he have a loyalty to Atlanta or MLS?
I don't think either of those, just the club. Because again, they're the ones that gave him the chance.
Let's emphasize like long-term loyalty.
Sure,
Not so much because I think we all understood that he was going to eventually leave. Yeah.
But it just, for me, I don't have a problem with the way he has kind of played the game over the last couple months. And I think he's absolutely.
I think it was too. I think there's shadiness. I think the shadiness in some of the things that he did.
Well, it's difficult, right? I mean, his contract ends on December 8th. That doesn't get you a lot of time to get in the door for an international job. And obviously Mexico and these teams want to get him in as soon as possible with the Gold Cup coming up next summer, assuming he's going to Mexico, or the South American teams would be playing Copa America. If he was to go to Argentina, of course, we're just speculating. So it's not possible for him to reject, to just ignore all the noise around him and expect that he's going to not renew his Atlanta United contract on December 8th, and then suddenly there's going to be somebody offering him a job on December 9th, unless he somehow makes it clear that there's a possibility he's going to be on the market, which he did with that Colombian Raider.
If he does nothing with any of that information, even Atlanta United thinks he's a dumbass at that point.
But
this is what you do. This is how you leverage things.
I hate how this happened because you hear all this crap where and there hasn't been any contact. There hasn't been any contact. That's bull crap because somebody and somebody that is speaking on your behalf has reached out to other delegations. And there's no direct contact. That's crap. That's completely crap.
He definitely, it was a
timeout. No, but see, direct contact can that's direct contact with him and with whatever federation in Martino. That I fully believe he didn't have.
Right, but if someone his daughter or kid, that is direct contact because they go and report to him. He tells them, okay, you go tell them this. That is direct contact.
That sounds pretty indirect contact to me.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, that's the thing.
If it was direct, he would be speaking directly to them.
There's a lot
but the message that he wants to send and the message that they want to get to him, those things are getting back and forth to him. So there has been contact.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So then don't act like there hasn't been contact when there has been.
Well, But
so you're saying Tata Martino lied to everyone?
I'm not saying he bold-faced, like out and out with malice aforethought lied, but I certainly think that he was more into negotiations or whatever with some other federations, because that's the thing. Like you said, it's not just going to happen to where MLS Cup ends and the next day he takes a job and they negotiated that in 24 hours.
Yeah,
who believes that? You're naive as hell if you believe
that. He's already decided now that he's not going to come back to Atlanta United. So now, by the end of the season, he's going to have a contract done with whoever he ends up going to.
My thing is even
that I'm fine with. I have no problem with the entire process.
But you're saying that there hasn't been any sort of negotiation or anything up to this point?
If there has or there hasn't, and he's lied to my face, I don't care because that's how the game is played.
I think that's my main issue.
I have no problem with that.
But that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's right.
That's fine. But then the entire sports industry needs to be revolutionized then because that's how the game is played.
But no,
I have no problem with players doing this, with managers doing this, because that's how this happens.
Right.
Your contract is ending. You come up with to come to terms with the team that you're playing with. And then you start working towards the next thing. And in this case, that's exactly what happened.
That's how I feel too. I mean, and obviously as a fan.
You mentioned this kind of dropped out of nowhere. No, they explained exactly how this went down. As soon as the Tata Martino let the team know that
they dropped it out of nowhere, because that's the thing. We hadn't heard anything really from the team at all. And then boom.
And they explained it.
Well, right, but I'm saying it still came out of nowhere.
It didn't because they explained it.
No, I don't think
they explained it after they dropped the knowledge. It came out of nowhere to us. That's what I'm saying.
Because as soon as everything was done, they can say, "All right, well, he's not coming back. Here we go. Let's focus on the rest of the team."
So that's out of nowhere because they hadn't said anything about it until boom, they just dropped it. That's the definition.
I don't know what else. To me, that's the perfect way to play it.
Why does the first?
So now you're changing your answer. First of all, it's not out of nowhere, and then you realize, oh, it is.
I don't think it's out of nowhere. I think it was purposeful.
Yeah,
that's not just out of nowhere. That's just not out of nowhere.
What would you have the club say prior to them making a final decision?
It's not really on the club, though. That's what I'm saying. It's on Tata Martino and his
Well, you say it came out of nowhere because it's the first that the club mentioned it. But as far as Tata Martino's camp go and the rumors,
I wasn't blaming the club. All I was saying was that it kind of came out of nowhere from the club. I wasn't blaming them or anything for.
Well, I mean,
it sounded like you were.
The reason that
I was mad at you because you kept trying to misinterpret what I was saying.
Well, you said the club hadn't made a statement on this. You said, why have they not made a statement?
They can't make a statement. What are they going to say?
I never said why have. I just said it came out of nowhere. I didn't say I wasn't questioning it.
It came out of nowhere because it's the first the club had mentioned it.
Right.
Okay, so you're one. But how?
But I'm not asking. That was me just noting that happened. That wasn't me making a commentary either way.
Well, it's true the club hadn't said anything prior, but I don't really understand.
And that's not true. That's not true. They've done interviews where they explain that when you have a coach that's had this much success, you're going to have people from this team talks in cryptic tweets and clues. You just got to listen. That's why this is as sure as I thought I was. I'm not all that mad or upset because I knew that this was real possibility.
Well, we knew there was enough smoke.
Actually, you didn't know it was a real possibility.
I did.
99%.
That's why I'm not you right now, because I knew that this in the back of my mind. This could be a real possibility that he leaves. I don't think he's going to, based off the things
What
that
do
he
you mean?
said.
I'm the one that knew he was leaving. You're
And you're the one that's
said-
upset right now.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand.
Just because you know somebody's leaving or doesn't mean you don't have to be upset when
So
they leave.
you haven't been mad all the way up until this moment?
No, I've been mad that he was going to leave. I've been furious that he was going to leave, especially if he leaves for Mexico.
Because we've had 3-4 podcasts since all this news came out, and this is the first I'm hearing
No,
you being
it's
mad.
not. I was mad when we were talking about him going to Mexico the past few times.
You were mad about Mexico.
All right, someone do some fact checking.
Well, we can just go back and listen. I know Sam was mad about Mexico, but I mean, again, I don't see how you can be mad at Tata specifically. And
I don't see how anyone's at fault to be mad at anything
because
right now.
he hasn't been here a long period of time. He doesn't have any sentimental connections to Atlanta other than the last.
But y'all are
2
only
years.
looking at this as a pragmatic, fully logical. This is the problem. What is fan short for?
Okay,
Right.
but
You're not taking
why-
fans' emotion, the emotion of the situation into it. You're only looking
and I
at
don't
it.
want my club or the coach to take the fan reaction into
And
consideration.
they're not
at all.
supposed to. You're
So then why are we
asking me
talking about
because
it?
you're asking me why I'm mad, and I'm telling you why I'm mad.
Because you're being emotional and not using
And we're-
logic.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's what sports and that's what fanaticism
Great
is all
job.
about.
So your
Great
argument
job.
is that I'm being illogical.
No, you're just applying too much. This is sports. This is a game. This is not something you're supposed to sit there and logically, methodically, blah, 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 blah. You have to bring in emotion. You have to bring in, you talk about like your gut feeling and stuff like that with managers and things like that. This is not something that is just robotic. There is a real tie to sports, and especially with soccer, there is way more of a connection to fans and the club than any other sport.
But in the end, you have to ask, are you mad because you're losing your great manager, or are you mad because you think Tata's done something unethical because
Both.
you feel he's going behind the club's back? And that's where I would just have to
Yeah, I can't
disagree
get on with you on that one.
and not something I've heard many fans discuss, really. Although if this was another
It's
club,
also a 24-hour short story.
if we saw this happen, well, I don't think that's true because there's been rumors about this for a long time. So as we just said,
But
everybody
there's
knew.
rumors. But this guy still thought 99% that Tata was coming
Well,
back.
as Ernest told us, Eric's not the sharpest knife, so give him a break, okay? All I'm saying is, from a fan standpoint, of course. I mean, to lose Tata Martino for everything he's done.
And that's who we're doing the show for, as fans. We're not doing this show for the brass of the club to listen to.
But I would say, if you are a fan, and I haven't heard any fans say this other than Sam, that feels that Tata has done something underhanded and that
I don't do the show for
that
the fans.
he's-
I do the show for me.
that
And then
he-
if they like this stuff, I'm doing it.
Well, then you're
Then
you're
great.
doing it for the
I
wrong
think,
purpose.
I think we're
You're doing
here.
it for yourself.
I think
That's-
we're
that's
here.
not right.
I think maybe to give a little perspective to the fans, and I think you need a little bit of
Please,
perspective.
there are a ton of people that hate me. I could not care less.
I don't hate you either. Ernest
not you
does. He
guys,
thinks you're not the
fans.
sharpest knife. But all I'm saying is, yes, emotion applies, but it's if you're as angry as Sam is, if you think he's done the club wrong, that's like showing up and booing Tata Martino at the next home
No,
match.
it's not. You can,
But because
you can
you-
still appreciate
Sam,
what he's
listen.
done while also being mad about him leaving.
If I feel that that Tata Martino knew he was leaving all year, went behind closed doors with Mexico.
Well, he didn't know he was
negotiated
leaving
with
all
them.
year. If apparently, as the club said, they knew he was gone.
That's
after
not
2
what they
years.
said.
That's not how they said
they
it.
knew there was always a possibility he would leave after 2 years. They
They knew that they would need to strongly convince him to stay, but that it was a possibility that he could stay. That's why he agreed to an option.
I just don't see why this is so surprising to everybody. He's a
It's
manager
not.
that spent his entire career in South America, a little bit in Europe. He wants a new challenge. He's nearing 70, so maybe he doesn't want to deal with the day-to-day rigmarole of being at the head of a club and wants to manage an international team. And so what if he came to Atlanta to get his stock up?
Good for him.
I mean, good for him. And this is, look, if
What do you mean? Hold on, time. Y'all said that it wasn't that they knew it was 2 years. Here's the exact quote. We always knew into this it was going to be 2 years. Obviously, the hope was that we could persuade him to stay longer.
yeah.
Okay, that's the hope.
Quite
But
literally what we just said.
Hope is irrational. Hope is
No,
illogical.
it's not. That's
Yes, it is.
Hope is
The
illogical.
logic of the
That's just
logic of the
That's
situation.
just a general.
I'm hoping that
No,
Atlanta United
no.
can win on
The
Sunday.
logic of the situation.
I hope that Atlanta
is
United
we
can win the
always
MLS
knew
Cup.
going into it that it was going to be. 2
And I
years.
think that's why you see that Pizzi Martinez is coming regardless. You see that
I hope that Miguel Almiron goes to Europe for a lot of money. I have all these hopes. That's not illogical.
I think what they're more saying, Sam, is they always knew this was a strong possibility, and that's why they seem so well prepared that you're already linked with their managers. You're still able to go out and acquire a Pizzi Martinez, even though your managerial situation's up in the air. So I think the club had a pretty good idea that this might happen because of, like we mentioned, Tata Martino's background, that maybe he's trying to get a bigger job after he leaves Atlanta United. But I don't think that he's done anything really unethical here, and I think what the club are clearly prepared and have contingency plans in place, in my opinion. And I think if the club were,
and I also never said unethical, I said shady.
Well, whatever. I mean, we're just picking hairs here.
Unethical is a little stronger than that.
Fair enough. So he was
all right. Fine. I don't think he did anything shady.
Well, okay. So let me be in between. I think he did do a little bit of shady stuff, and I think it's par for the course. And I think if he used Atlanta United to get to a bigger job, it worked out for both parties because Atlanta United is never where they are today without the last 2 years of Tata Martino. And maybe Tata Martino isn't taking a job like Mexico, Argentina, wherever, if his stock hadn't been raised at Atlanta United. So the way I looked at it was once when I was we were all young boys at one point. We had still not yet had our first lady. Let's say, so I'm, Virgin Josh walking around.
Oh my gosh.
And Beyonce decides that she wants to come and be my first. And she does it because she thinks that she can raise her stock as someone that knows the common people and isn't a true elitist. So if me and Beyonce sleep together and then she says, okay, I'm leaving you for a better, more attractive guy now, I'm not going to sit there and I'm going to be, okay, I'm much more confident now. I'm much more better at sexual intercourse now. I've got a lot that I can build on. That's what Atlanta United is. They were MLS virgins, professional soccer virgins 2 years ago. Tata Martino and gave them some good loving. And maybe he used Atlanta United, but now Atlanta United can show the love like they couldn't 2 years ago. So that's how I look at this. Yeah, maybe he came and used Atlanta United, but consider where Atlanta United was 2 years ago and where they are now. I think it worked out just fine.
I can't decide if that's a good analogy or not because I'm extremely distracted now. I can't think about if that's a good analogy.
I think the key is to recognize where Atlanta United was when he came, and they were in a spot where they hadn't played a match yet.
I fully agree with you without the analogy, but I get where you're going. I'm very curious.
It's the exact same.
I'm very curious to who they had in mind before Tata Martino came calling. Because
well,
I'm very curious what that list looked like.
Maybe one day we will.
Darren, share the list. He's gone now. Share the list. Come on.
Caleb.
So that takes us into, I think, another part of this is, we wonder who else was on the list when Tata Martino came, because surely it was nobody with kind of at his stature. But now that he's left, has Tata Martino and Atlanta United in the last 2 years established enough of a brand where they can go get another manager of Tata Martino's ilk that can continue to recruit out of South America and be a manager that players want to come play for? I would say yes, absolutely. That you've come through these 2 years. You were a virgin 2 years ago. Now you understand how things work. You understand the game. And now I think Atlanta United is ready to go forward, get another strong manager. You're still bringing in a strong player. So I think Martino has clearly done enough, and the club's done enough over the last 2 years to not miss a beat without Tata Martino going forward.
If Carlos Bocanegra or Darren Eales hears this podcast and just listens to that analogy.
Yeah, that's
I want to be there just to see their face.
Carlos Bocanegra is a pretty man. He could go on that list with Beyonce too.
So first of all, Atlanta United was an MLS virgin, and now you're saying that Carlos Bocanegra is a pretty man.
Yes, those are both true.
This is gone.
Yeah, wow. Josh has thrown me off my game here. I'm not mad anymore.
Carlos Bocanegra is gorgeous. Come on, guys.
Okay, so
recognize beauty in him.
Moving right along.
No, I think something. This is why I really just can't be mad at anything because of what he's done for Atlanta, what he's brought to this city. This is a city that couldn't do soccer. That was Taylor Twellman's thing, just couldn't do soccer. And lo and behold, it's doing better than what seemingly the Falcons are doing, what the Hawks are doing. You could argue the Braves. that's a tribute to a lot of what Tata has done when it comes to the players. I think that the one issue I have with the whole, and Darren Neals calls it the pipeline myth. I think that was always the strategy, the goal to acquire young talent from South America. I think that they had the connections to do that. I think Tata definitely helped. There's no question about that. I don't think that pipeline goes away, though. I think if Atlanta United wants to go with someone from Europe, someone from Africa, someone from Asia, someone from Australia, I don't care. I think that pipeline still exists. I think that is still strong, and that is evident with the players that Atlanta United has been able to acquire without necessarily the need, I guess, for Tata Martino.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about Barco, who again, not without the help of Tata Martino, but with just his presence, whatever. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Barco didn't have much contact with Tata Martino until basically everything was all said and done.
And he's not a great fit for a high-pressing system, as we've talked about all year.
Villalba, not someone that was picked up specifically by Tata Martino. Nagby, I'm pretty sure, had nothing to do with Tata Martino.
Well, don't you remember when Eric Rametti came in and everyone kind of thought, oh, Tata Martino went and got his midfielder,
and he was like,
Martinez,
I haven't talked to him.
And he was like, oh, great. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Eric. And it's not just we can sit here and spout out all the hyperbole about what a great job Atlanta United have done, but the actual substance shows that you're right, which is between Barco, Rametti, and now P.T. Martinez coming in. There's clearly still enough clout with the Atlanta United club without Tata Martino that young players, particularly from South America, still want to come play in Atlanta.
If anything, I would almost encourage Atlanta United, if they can, to essentially do the same thing they did with Tata Martino in South America and do that with Europe. I don't know. I know they're doing like a global search, but if you can imagine finding a German coach that you bring here, and all of a sudden that opens some kind of pipeline to Germany, to the lower leagues, kids that are looking to obviously get up to Bundesliga and make a name for themselves, maybe come here first, and who knows what.
Absolutely.
Essentially set up that pipeline other places, if that's how you want to work.
And I think one of the real interesting things that Darren Neals is on record as saying over the last 24 hours is that it's not necessarily just a search for your next manager in South America. So it'll be interesting to see where the club goes from here. Although, and again, we'll kind of see who we can trust and who we can't with the rumor mill, but the reports out there that Guillermo Barros Escaloto, the Boca Juniors manager, is already in negotiations with Atlanta United. And then there have been other links in the past. We've talked about Jorge Sampaoli and people like that. So certainly,
Jose Peckerman.
Peckerman, absolutely. A manager I love actually is Marcelo Gallardo at River Plate, who has announced he's not coming back, and there's starting to be some smoke that maybe he's going to speak with an MLS team. So certainly, while Darren Neals says it's a global search, and maybe it is, at least from what we're reading.
I don't deny that it might be a global search. I'm sure that they're focusing on
the smoke
South
we're
America
seeing
now,
is mostly South American, but there's no reason, like you say, Eric, that Atlanta can't extend their network further now that they've kind of built up that brand in South America. There's no reason they can't.
If that's how you want to picture it, if the way you picture Tata Martino with Atlanta United was that he was sort of the pipeline, then I want that same image of whoever. I want that same image for someone with Europe.
Here's a question.
If that's how you think of it, I don't think that actually exists. Again, I think that, like Darren Neals, it's a myth that you don't actually need Tata Martino to get these South American talents. But if that's how you want to think of it, I would love to see the same thing done with something like Europe.
I'm not going to include joke names like David Moyes or Arsene Wenger because those aren't happening.
Wenger in.
I'm all in for Wenger in.
Anyway, of the South American names,
you think he'd fly coach?
Of the South American or I guess Hispanic names you see linked with this job, the one that I'm most attracted to for it is Peckerman. And so I just think that you talk about a guy that kind of has a similar resume to what Tata had coming in. I mean, Peckerman managed Argentina at a World Cup, managed Colombia at a World Cup.
So that's kind of your dream.
I would say, and I know a lot of people get on him tactically and whatnot, but I just think in terms of stature, that name in South America means something. I mean, when you've taken two different nations to the World Cup, Tata didn't do that.
Well, here's my question: is if Atlanta United thought that Tata Martino was,
but y'all didn't answer the go. What name attracts you most?
That's been.
I'm not. I see. Here's the thing. I'm both attracted and unattracted at the same time to just about everyone.
What a tease.
Everyone has their own, pros and cons.
Way to not answer the question.
Okay, so for me, and I've taken.
You said Gallardo.
I like Gallardo as, but the thing is, he hasn't been explicitly linked.
True, that's a good
kind
point.
I mean, the name that I've seen, and again, these names, the only name that we've specifically seen pop up since Tata's decision is Schelotto. The name that I love that popped up was Jorge Sampaoli, who I know
he has a bad rap right now with the Argentina
absolutely,
thing, but a lot of that was just out of his control. Basically, his players mutinied against it.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you believe what the report said that Lionel Messi was in charge of all that, it's like. Maybe he wants to go somewhere where the players aren't going to be, prima donna like Messi, and then try to take the team.
And
my worry would be, why did that happen in the first place?
Because these national team jobs, especially one like Argentina, is so damn political, and Messi has all the power.
Well, and I would defend Sampaoli to say it's not like Argentina started to have these issues when he got there.
They are.
I mean, I think he was in charge of a broken car.
Sure, but it's not like Messi didn't have any kind of say in this decision. I'm sure they went to him and be like, look, is this someone you could work with? Because we know you're the star of the team. You're the best player in the world.
He said yes, though. That makes sense.
And that's why I'm thinking, what happened? So what happened to him that that the mutiny formed?
It's a great question, and it's one that we might never know the answer to. But I would look past Argentina, which was, in my opinion, an impossible job for anybody. In some ways, it's amazing you got them out of the group. Probably the best manager in the history of Chilean football. Won a Copa America, a major trophy with them. I think it's the first major trophy they'd won in like 70 or 80 years. Did very well at Sevilla, got them into the Champions League, and then also got them, I think, into the round of 16 in the Champions League, and then Argentina came calling. So he was a very successful manager that was rising before he took over the mess at Argentina. Almost similar in some ways, although a younger version of where Tata Martino was when he came to Atlanta. He had just come off of kind of a tough job at Argentina too.
And here was my question before we wanted to answer what you asked, Sam, is the next coach for Atlanta United moving into next year. Do we want that to be a long-term coach, or are we looking at someone that's, I'm not saying Tata Martino was a stopgap, but Atlanta United for Tata Martino was a stopgap.
It can go either way. I mean, if you went after a guy like Peckerman, then
I personally would rather have someone that doesn't necessarily care about national team jobs. That's what we had in Tata Martino. That way, we're not looking at the same situation in 2 years.
Of course, the problem you run into, and you run into the same problem with managers in MLS.
Yeah, I don't
players.
Right, I don't know that we can control that.
It's a feeder league.
Yeah,
look at what happened with Jesse Marsh
and Patrick Vieira.
I don't know that. Yeah, so I don't know that we can control that so much, but it is something to consider. Do you want someone that's going to be here looking to get to the next level, or do you want a manager that's looking to be here for the long term to establish a legacy, some kind of dominance within MLS?
Right. We'll see.
Those are the two questions you're going to have to ask yourself.
Maybe think Schelotto. I think he's 45. Maybe that's someone as a young guy that's willing to stay around.
Has he coached a national team yet?
No, he's very new into managing.
Yeah,
he was at Lanús, and then
so that'd be the next step for him
at Boca Juniors. So it's tough to find that guy.
A guy like Peckerman, though, I would think. I've had my run with Colombia.
But would he want to be somewhere for 4 or 5 years? I don't know.
Oh, that's
saying,
how I'm considering the potential search, I guess, if it were even up to me.
Fair enough.
Is as Darren Eales, as Darren Eales and Carlos Bocanegra, is this something you want to go through in another 2 years?
Here's one thing I think we do know.
Or do you want something that's much more established, you can be here for the long term?
And it's a good question. I think what we do know is this, and that, to me, this is something that's kind of fallen under the radar a little bit over the last 24 hours, is that Atlanta United, and I heard Jason Longshore mention this on Soccer Down Here today, Atlanta United want more of a coach to come in, not a manager. And what that kind of means is Tata Martino is more of a coach, right? He's very involved in training session. His handprints are on everything on the pitch, but he's not super involved with transfers, contract negotiations, things like that. That's another thing that we've learned from Darren Eales over the last 24 hours is that Atlanta United are looking to bring in that type of manager, more of a coach.
It's much more of an American sports complex too,
Absolutely.
Because over in Europe you'll have like a Jose Mourinho or
Arsene Wenger,
a Pep Guardiola. These guys that have total control over the transfers and over coaching the team. Whereas here, Darren Eales has clearly kind of put his foot down and said, no, we are going because the league is so weird with the salary cap and everything. Like, let us take care of this. All we want you to do is teach this team how to play.
Right. So what I think this tells us is that the club model is going to stay the same. You're going to bring in a manager who has his hands a lot in a certain style of play. The club on record is saying that they want that to be an attractive style of play. And I think people are really overthinking that Tata Martino's tactics are somehow cannot be repeated, or that there's not another tactical system that you can win with these players. That's absolutely
go listen to Felipe on Stoppage Time from earlier this week. He'll tell you the same thing. Everyone in South America plays the exact same way.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's like small variations, but as far as aggressive, high tempo play, usually some variation of a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Although we've saw Tata go.
I'm watching
three at the back.
I'm watching Boca Juniors right now, and they're playing basically the exact same way.
Well, if you've been watching Copa Libertadores this week, if you've been watching PT Martinez, you see that the teams play very similarly in terms of tempo and that type of thing. So particularly if you bring in another South American manager, yeah, there might be some small wrinkles. Maybe it's a little more possession oriented. Maybe it's more of a delayed press instead of a crazy high press, but it's going to be the same kind of fundamental style of play. So I think people looking at this that are worried from a tactical standpoint, I don't think, as long as you don't make a disastrous hire, I think that the club is pretty easily going to bring in a coach, not a manager, but more of a coach who's going to implement his style of play, and it's not going to be a huge variation from what we saw with Tata Martino.
But I mean, there's one thing you did say, though, in terms of the personnel that are on this team. I think this is something that we brought up either on the radio show or might have been before we did this. The style of Atlanta United, while, yes, I agree that in terms of playing, attacking, and things like that, they will stay the same. But because of the personnel that are going to be on this team, it's probably not going to be as fast.
Yeah. So this is
they're going to drop it back.
This is a big discussion. This is something I think we'll talk about all offseason, kind of depending on who the manager is. Assuming Miguel Almiron goes and you put Barco or Martinez into that cam spot and then play one of those two wide left, you have a significantly different type of attack where you have, particularly in Barco, a couple of players that don't have to play 100 miles an hour, play at pace like Miguel Almiron or Tito Villalba or even to some extent Joseph Martinez. You have guys that can slow the play down as well. So I think that you might see a little bit more of a slower tempo, possession-oriented Atlanta United side next year, simply because of the differences in personnel. And that's something we'll talk about all offseason, I'm sure.
I see now that I'm okay. So I read a Bobby Warshaw article on MLSsoccer.com, and us presenting this kind of this side of things, it makes me wonder if a guy like PT Martinez and Barco isn't something that was done on purpose, kind of with the idea that, okay, Tata may leave. Let's prepare for the next guy, and kind of maybe shift, not essentially the overall style of play, but maybe shift how, like we said, how attacking they are. Because if you think about what Bobby Warshaw says in the piece, and I'm not saying this is 100% the way it's happening, but typically after 2 or 3 years, teams adjust and figure out how you play for the most part.
And a manager can wear on players.
Your system is not as effective, and change is sometimes a good thing. This is one of the, I guess, the positives that Bobby Warshaw kind of pulls out of the Tata Martino leaving. Teams might start to figure Atlanta out at some point. Atlanta's playing style has been clear from day one under Martino, playing out of the back, crush teams on the counter press in the final third, and they rarely deviate. So I wonder if maybe shifting from that mindset, maybe not completely, but at least enough to where you bring in a PT Martinez, where you obviously have already brought in Barco, and it's more methodical.
Exactly. That's the word.
Maybe that's the move you're making so that you're less predictable next year, so that you can continue to build off this success with the idea that you understand that maybe a third year of Martinez, a third year of the same players, a third year of Martino, a third year of the same players might give you might see a steep decline in wins and points and all that stuff. I'm not saying that's happened. It's an interesting thing to consider, though, considering that that's exactly what Bobby Warshaw said. Again, I'm not saying like he's a soccer god or anything like that, but he does point it out. It is something it is something we're seeing with Atlanta United and the players that they brought over recently.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing if they play slightly differently next year. I think if they do, it'll be not so much a coach / and or manager coming in and demanding the team play a certain way. I think it'll be him evaluating his personnel with Barco coming in, or Barco or PT coming in.
And it may just be a complete coincidence.
And seeing, okay, we probably need to play at a little bit slower of a tempo with this team. And we talked about it all year, how Barco seems to play at one speed and everyone plays it at another. If you're going to play Barco at the number 10 position all year, the tempo has got to be predicated around the way that he wants to play. And if you put PT at the 10 and Barco out left,
even more so.
Yeah, I think in some ways even more so. So we'll talk about it all off season. I know we actually have games coming up this weekend. My understanding is Supporter Shield and the trophy is on the line. It's kind of important, but that's something to watch for all off season, is kind of get an idea of what different tactical wrinkles we see this year based on the personnel and coach that come in.
Did we hit the accomplishments part of this yet, or was that on the radio show? I forgot.
Right.
It was on the radio.
So that's the job done thing, right?
Yes.
And this is a tough one because the season's not over. Is Tata Martino's job done? So let me just get it started and say,
I think you can do it as like, okay, how do you view the season if it's just Supporter Shield? How do you view the season if it's Supporter Shield and MLS Cup? How do you view the season if it's not Supporter Shield but they win MLS Cup? Mm-hmm. Or how do you view the season if they don't win anything?
Okay, so let me kick this off because I know you guys have a kind of slightly different viewpoint than me. To me, it does not matter. I obviously want Atlanta United to win a trophy, and obviously for this season, it's massive for this team's legacy and whatnot to after all they've done to go and win trophies. But for Tata Martino specifically, I think he's done his job in Atlanta and in particular MLS in general over these 2 years. I think it absolutely is a job done because I think, again, looking at Atlanta United 2 years ago, I mean, they hadn't played a match. And you look at them now, they can go acquire top players from South America, even knowing that Tata Martino's out the door. So he has clearly increased the stature of the club to a point where they have made a brand for themselves and are going to be successful going forward. Furthermore, I think the job he's done has also influenced the league as a whole. We're seeing a lot of teams become more ambitious and start to recruit these South American players and recruit top foreign managers and play expansive, exciting styles of football. So for me, whether Atlanta United falls flat on their face in the playoffs or not, he's done his job by getting Atlanta United to where it needs to be as an organization and club, and also bringing the league forward leaps and bounds.
I see it. And before I mention exactly how I see this, if you're on the YouTube chat and you got any questions for us regarding Tata, really regarding anything that's happened in the past week, shoot us a message in the chat and we'll get to it as soon as we're done with this. But I see it a little weirdly. So I'm gonna get video game nerdy on you. You guys played Star Fox back in the day, N64, yes. Right? Okay.
Apologies to our younger listeners.
You had the mission complete and you had the mission accomplished. So I think for Tata, and this is speaking from his perspective, I think the mission is complete. It's not yet accomplished. The accomplished comes with the trophies. Really, I think if he just wins one trophy, I personally would be happy. As long as it's not a fall flat on your face in the playoffs, and it's like a legitimate, even if you lose out in the two legs, as long as you give it a good fight, I'd be okay with it.
Okay.
As long as it comes with the trophy, it's like Supporter Shield.
His Star Fox analogy was much better than my version analogy.
But I think for Tata right now, the mission is complete because I think his reason for coming to Atlanta United is accomplished. That part of it is complete. His goals with Atlanta United haven't been accomplished yet. So that's where again, mission complete for Tata and what his next move and his future is. But when it comes to his time at the club, that mission has not been accomplished yet.
I like that.
That's how I see it. And that's how I would see it from his perspective. I think from Atlanta United's perspective, yeah, it's definitely not job done until we got some trophies in the bag.
So would you say job done? So mission accomplished, not mission complete with just Supporter Shield? Does he have to win both, or is it MLS Cup,
I just kind of want one. I'm not going to be greedy.
So you would take the Shield.
Again, one Supporter Shield and a strong showing in the playoffs. Right,
you don't flame out.
I'm in. I good job, Tata. We love you. Have fun in Mexico.
What about you? What about you, Sam? Is it one trophy or two, or?
I mean,
don't get me wrong. I really want MLS Cup.
Or one of the specific trophies.
Like I was saying earlier, being emotional, being a fan, being mad. If he gets one trophy, I will feel much better about this. But if he doesn't, then it's kind of like, well, if you get the trophy, he abandoned the team before going to the CONCACAF Champions League, which is something that this team has obviously invested a lot into trying to. Because Darren Eales always talks about being on the international stage and wanting to be an international club more so than just an MLS club. So, I would say that MLS Cup would be more preferable, or however you would say that, to the Supporter Shield because it's a more important trophy. But I'd take either one.
Well, we will find out about Supporter Shield this weekend.
Big one against Toronto FC. We got to go up to Toronto. I think the safest way to say this is you gotta win.
Yes, well,
because otherwise,
the Red Bulls are hosting Orlando.
Yeah,
so.
Otherwise you're hoping that Orlando pulls out a second win in a row, which I don't think it's done. Well, no, it did it earlier this year, so there is hope.
Well, they won 6 in a row.
They won 6 in a row.
And they went on to win 2 over the last 5 months.
Look,
I'm crazier things have happened.
I'm trying to be optimistic here, okay? So we either win. I think a draw puts us in a very sticky situation that I don't think we come out on top of. And again, if we lose, then we're hoping for a Red Bulls loss as well. Toronto FC out with Josie Altidore out, Victor Vasquez out. They likely will be playing Giovinco, Michael Bradley, the typical starters. I'm more curious to how Atlanta United manages a tough test in Toronto. Don't pay attention to where they are in the standings because that really doesn't matter. They want to make sure that Atlanta United, I guarantee you, want to make sure that Atlanta United does not want to accomplish another goal in terms of being the team with the highest points in a season, which right now is we're tied now. So we share that title.
Red Bulls on 68.
There is a possibility there could be a 3-way joint sharing of the title.
69 tie.
If Atlanta United loses,
you see Sam's face.
We got to put him in timeout, man.
Because if Atlanta United loses,
3-way 69.
No, that wouldn't work. Hold on, because
You're right, it wouldn't.
If Atlanta United loses, then
that's strike 2, Josh.
We'll get 3.
All right, you're on thin ice.
No, so here's what I'm interested in. I think first of all, it's weird because we don't really know how Toronto are going to come out. I think you're probably right, Eric. It's our last game of the season. There's no love lost between Atlanta and Toronto anyway, so I think they're going to come out and try to play spoiler. I'm interested to see how Atlanta United come out. So it's you're going on the road. I assume it's going to be not great weather. Do you come out just attack? Or a little more pragmatic approach where maybe you go to that 3/5 in the back, or do you come out pressing high and just trying to let Toronto know, look, your season's over in 90 minutes?
I just think you got to win. So you got to come out and you got to play like you played all year. I wouldn't change anything.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, we've seen Atlanta kind of two Atlantas, and we've seen that high press flying around, and then we've seen kind of soak up the pressure a little bit and look to get out and play direct. So I don't know that the Atlanta United's been playing the specific way all year. I think, I wonder which way we're going to see this weekend. Are we going to see that kind of 4-2-3-1, looking for the high press, flying around the pitch that we've seen, or are we going to see that kind of slower tempo, looking to counter 3-5-2, 3-6-1, whatever you want to call it?
I wouldn't mind looking to counter, but I don't think that's going to be. I think Toronto's going to be the one that's like, yeah, you come to us, we'll counter on you with Giovinco.
Let me ask you guys another question. Who are your Miguel Almiron is out. That's an actual 99%, Eric. We're actually 99% sure that Miguel Almiron is out.
All right, you don't have to be a jerk about it, okay? You don't have to be a jerk about it.
I'm just trying to teach you how to use percentages properly. Anyways, I thought that the 3 over the weekend of Remedi, Nagby, and Julian Gressel, and actually got to get the self-plug-in. I'll have a article on Dirty South Soccer coming out about those midfield 3 and how Tata Martino made adjustments in the second half to kind of have them function better as a unit. I thought that midfield 3 struggled a little bit. And obviously with Almiron out, you're always going to... I
didn't like Gressel back there.
I thought Gressel at the 10, he's not on the ball enough.
He reminded... All the criticism of him not being good in the middle of the field just came flooding back.
And I think Gressel, particularly as a number, he was playing the most attacking role, and he just wasn't getting on the ball enough.
It's unfair to me to say it like that because in a spot moment, I don't know what else. I don't know. I didn't expect... It's not that he played terribly, but it's all those thoughts and reminders of, this is why he doesn't play in the middle of the field, that they all came coming back, and they just obviously associated with them.
And also, he's just not getting on the ball where he's good, which is pretty much be found in space and wide right areas, and then obviously in and around.
Put a good cross in, yeah.
Exactly, and it was difficult for him to do that, the number 10 position. But the other player that was very interesting was that Tata Martino sat Jeff Larentowicz and played Eric Remedi all by himself in front of the back four. And if you watch the first goal against Chicago Fire last week, it stems directly from Remedi kind of following his natural instincts as a ball hawk, ball-winning center mid, and over pursuing into the midfield and space is left in front of the back four because Nagbe and Gressel are not really particularly defensive players anyway, and maybe didn't notice and didn't rotate. Jeff Larentowicz is a player who will sit in that space in front of the back four. So I think Tata Martino has some decisions to make with regards to which center midfield trio are you going to look for, because for my money, Remedi, Nagbe, Gressel didn't work too well, especially defending. And as you just mentioned, Eric, Sebastian Giovinco probably going to play. He's a player that's going to try to find that space in front of the back four that Remedi sometimes vacates to go run into midfield and try to win the ball back. So for me, I think I need to see a different center midfield three in this game. And I would go with Larentowicz, Remedi, and then I would go with Nagbe as kind of a deeper lying kind of number 10 and let your wingers stay high up the pitch and kind of have your three center mids sit back.
It was a technical adjustment, I think, to maybe get some rest for Larentowicz.
Definitely.
I don't mind that he did that.
And when we brought Larentowicz on the second half to shore up defensively.
Now, had it cost us points, I'd probably be telling you something different. But I don't mind that he did that. I don't want to see that against Toronto. I want to see. Look, put Nagbe in that sort of Miggy role.
Yeah.
Make it very fluid with Barco coming inside, especially if Tito's back. Put Tito on the other side. Put Barco more or less in the middle.
You could do that,
and then throw Gressel up on the right. That I'm fine with.
Or
as
you
well.
could sit Barco or Tito, who would be coming off of an injury. One of the two wingers as well. There are plenty of.
I'd rather not. I'd rather not see Barco because he just loses the ball
in the middle
too much.
In particular. I don't think.
I love how, by the way, on Barco. Just to do a quick aside, I've been on the Barco gives the ball away too easily for months, and now I kind of feel like everybody's finally catching up to this.
No, I think everyone was on the same page.
I think you're just saying
you were just the loudest.
I think it's you're always the loudest.
I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Go back and look at the history of Dirty South Soccer Slack when I would bang on Barco and everybody in there's like, oh, you just don't get it. He's really good. Blah blah blah.
I don't think anyone disagrees. He was giving the ball away.
It's just a jar. I mean, he had a great pass to Franco Escobar against Chicago. Outside of that, nothing.
So I'm guessing for you, Sam, you would go whatever center midfield three you have. Assume Nagbe is the highest. You start, and this is what Tata did about a month ago. Was he put Villalba inverted on the left and then Gressel on the right?
It just depends on if Tito's back.
If Tito's back, yeah.
If Tito's back, then I go
Barco bench, Tito left, Gressel right.
Yes, and then I push. I really like that midfield Remedi and Nagbe together. I think they perform really well.
And I think the big thing for me though is, and we saw this, if this happens against Chicago, it's going to happen against. I mean, Toronto is a better team than Chicago. I think if you leave Remedi on his own in front of the back four, like I said, it's just his natural. It's not a criticism. It is his natural instinct to be a ball winner and run around. And sometimes he leaves that space in front of the back four open. So to me, if you see Remedi starting in this type of match, I think you have to start Jeff Larentowicz as well. So you have that kind of safety valve sitting in front of the back four and allow Remedi to do the things he's good at and ball hawk and chase the ball around.
I'd rather Atlanta be as conservative as possible in their own half and be as aggressive as they want with the attackers. Mm-hmm. Do whatever you want with Barco, Tito, Martinez, Gressel. They'll leave everything else the same, like we've had it all year, because that is working. That is fine. I don't know. I want to win Supporter Shield.
Absolutely. I would say, as a fan, I like a month ago, I wanted to win the Shield, but I was like, MLS Cup is everything. And now as we've gotten closer to winning
it's just trophy, so close.
And also
and it's
the
just
Red
one
Bulls
win.
Have not given us any room. Yeah, exactly, Eric. As a fan, like I feel like
you've been up there all year, and it's just Red Bulls just nipping at the heels, and you want to punch them in the face.
It would really hurt if you lose that Supporter Shield advantage on the very last match day. It would really, really hurt. So as a fan, I'm going to be over the moon if Atlanta United go and win this trophy on the weekend.
Decision day, 6 days away. When is it exactly? They have actually
6 days.
MLS Soccer has a timer. 6 days, 21 hours, 54 minutes, and 37, 36, 35. That's exactly how long until 4:30 on Sunday when Atlanta United will face Toronto FC in Toronto. They got to battle the elements. Hopefully they're well accustomed to MLS travel by now, and that is not a factor. Again, Atlanta United wins. They are Supporter Shield winners. They have the record for the most points in a single season, and they move into the playoffs with home field advantage throughout, including MLS Cup, which would be fantastic. Can you imagine playing MLS Cup in Mercedes-Benz?
That'd be pretty sweet.
Dreams.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts before we kind of wrap it up here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I was talking about earlier with emotions and everything, I think if we were doing this pod a week later, I probably wouldn't have gotten as mad. But I think just because it's so fresh and because of just the way I feel everything's gone down, you know, I know you guys have a little bit of a different perspective on it.
Plus, you're cute when you're angry.
Oh, thanks.
No problem.
No, it's just one of those things where, I don't know, man. It's hard to take, and I hate the Mexican national team so much, which is why if he goes there, I'm just going to be so mad.
If you agree with Sam, disagree with Sam, let him know. What's the
At Sam J. Franco. Yeah, throw your hate my way if you want. I don't mind.
Or praise. It's okay. You can.
I think there will be some people that are going to be on my side here. You might not have heard them yet, but I think everybody's reacting to the news. If he takes that Mexico job, there's going to be people in my camp.
If he takes the Mexico job, there's no question.
Promise you that.
We'll see what happens.
Is there any sorry, quick aside. Copa Libertad. Never mind. Copa Lib. Is there VAR in Copa Lib?
Yes, there is.
That dying Copa lids.
There is VAR.
Boca Juniors just missed a handball on the body.
Oy.
Checking out some.
I don't think it's gonna get called.
Carlos Escalato
I don't think it's gonna get called. But
Also, shout out to the Hawks. Big comeback win tonight.
All right.
Oh, they won?
They did.
Ice tray. That's what I'm
I thought they were like 25.
They were. They came back to win.
All right.
And you can find me on Twitter at JoshB914. And like I said, keep those Eric ideas coming. We're going to have one public humiliation, and we'll do something on the podcast. He'll wear an Orlando
200 subscribers, and I will do pretty much whatever you want.
If you really wanted to eat poop, just go make a bunch of different Gmail names and just subscribe 150 times.
If we get to 1 million subscribers, I'll eat poop. There you go.
I'm 99% sure we won't get to 1 million.
I'm going to clip that, and we got to make that go viral.
Because I'm just saying, if we get 1 million subscribers, then we're talking about some YouTube money.
If we get to 1 million, I'll eat poop too. I mean,
and there we go. 2 times. 2 people eating poop for $1 million.
All right, I'm in.
We're a classy podcast.
We got 3. I'm in.
No, not 3's a crowd. It's just 2.
Okay, you're telling me I don't have to eat poop? All right, y'all can have it.
Classy podcast here. This
is good times tonight.
By the way, because this is, I guess the show is a third mine, I would just like to say the Florida sucks and go Dogs.
Didn't Georgia lose recently?
They did.
LSU.
But it doesn't matter, man. It's cocktail party week.
Are you going?
Heck yeah.
Enjoy.
All right. Again, find us if you find me at Eric G. Quintana on Twitter. You can find the podcast at MOTS Podcast. Send us an email. MOTSpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. Make sure you're following Dirty South Soccer for all the latest news and notes when it comes to these coaching search for Atlanta United and for everything related to Atlanta United's future, heading into the playoffs, heading into Sunday, heading into the offseason, all that good stuff. All right, that'll do it for us. Till next time. See you later, Atlanta. Bye.
Off.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, I forgot to turn it off.
Adios.
I'm not eating poop.
Mm-hmm.